This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Everyone, if you made it here tonight, you have a special zechus, because I'm very excited to be able to tell over to you a shiur that I heard many years ago from one of the great gedolim of this past century, a great leading rabbanim, leading thinkers, leading speakers, leading mashpiyim, someone who really revolutionized the minds of countless Jews across the world, both non-observant, B'nai Torah, and someone who really opened up the minds of Klal Yisrael to appreciate so many aspects of Avodas Hashem, someone who I was zocheh to hear many shiurim from, and to speak to personally on a number of occasions. And it's also a zechus that tonight's shiur is also being sponsored by my parents, who I had the privilege to go many times together with my father to the shiurim of Harav Avigdor Miller, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. We used to walk from Avenue M and East 31st in Flatbush all the way to right next door to the Mir Yeshiva on Ocean Park. It was a good 45-minute walk. What is it, Avenue P? R. A very far walk. And we had the privilege to hear his In Yaakov shiur Shabbos afternoon. Then we would eat Shal Shudas with him. And then we would learn Gemara together with him. We would daven Marav with him. And then he would make Havdalah next to us. I even have a notebook of different things that I heard from him over the year. And a small section of questions that I actually asked him with the exact date. So one of the questions I see here was Cheshvan Tafshin Samach Aleph. Good 15 years ago. So it's a great zechus to be able to give over this shiur. This is one of Rabbi Avigdor Miller's classic shiurim, known as tape number 706. Okay, so if you're counting, this was his 706th tape, but one of his classic shiurim. And Be'ezus Hashem, hopefully, we'll be able to do it justice. Rav Miller was not only a leading speaker and mashpia, but he was one of the paragon Ovdei Hashem that we had the privilege to live at the same time as. He's somebody who utilized not only every moment of life, but every opportunity of life, every happening in life. He was able to l'raches, he was able to capitalize it and use it to its fullest to be able to maximize the Yiras Hashem and the Avas Hashem that's available from every opportunity in life. And the name of the shiur is the 10 Steps to Greatness. Now, one thing that all human beings have in common is everybody has ambitions for greatness. However, Shlomo HaMelech tells us in Mishlei, the pasuk says in Parak Yud, pasuk Ches, Chacham Lev Yikach Mitzvos. The wise-hearted man, he takes mitzvos. Ve'evil sefasayim yilavet. But the fool of his lips, he will weary out. So, Shlomo HaMelech saying there is a wise person who grabs mitzvos, and then there's a fool who tires himself out, he wearies himself out. And the question is, what kind of fool is Shlomo HaMelech talking about? A regular fool? He's not talking about a regular fool, because a regular fool is a dime a dozen. There are a lot of them everywhere. In fact, you'll be hard-pressed to find someone who's not in this category. So Shlomo HaMelech is not just talking about your run-of-the-mill evil, because nearly anybody on the street would be considered that. What kind of fool is Shlomo HaMelech talking about? He's talking about the fool who has ambitions for greatness. He aspires maybe to be a big tzaddik, a big Talmid Chacham, somebody knowledgeable in Torah. The only problem is that eventually he wearies himself out. He tires himself out. Because he looks at the shelf and he says, yeah, I'm going to learn Shas, I'm going to learn Poskim, I'm going to be a tzaddik. But as soon as he starts, he drops the ball immediately. It's too much, it's too hard. Because this person, all he does is he talks about it. He talks about it one day, tomorrow, in a month, next year, and he's constantly talking and talking and talking about what he's going to do. But ultimately he does absolutely nothing. And he goes through life and he doesn't accomplish. But the Chacham Lev, the wise-hearted man, he has the ingenuity and the smarts to be able to grab a hold of mitzvahs. And the first thing, says Rav Miller, the first piece of information that you need to know is that it's impossible to achieve greatness immediately. And it's impossible to achieve greatness suddenly. And it's impossible to jump from the bottom all the way to the top. You have to take it level by level by level. You're not going to climb the mountain overnight. The only thing you could do is you take small steps, little by little, until ultimately you reach the top of the mountain. And this program that we're going to advance tonight, nobody should be worried, nobody should be scared. This is a program that every one of us is capable of undertaking. And b'siyata d'shmaya be'ezras Hashem, if we're able to implement even a few small things, we'll be head and shoulders above everybody else. Now, you have to know, in order to achieve greatness, there are a lot of things you have to learn. You need to learn chayvas halvavos, duties of the heart. You need to learn mesilas yesharim. You need to learn sharei tshuva. You need to learn archas tzadikim, Rambam hilchos tshuva, Rambam hilchos deos. But we're not here tonight to scare you. What about for the simple person, for a regular person? Are there any small steps that one can undertake to embark on a career of greatness? And the first thing you need to know is that whatever I'm telling you tonight, don't tell anybody about. Don't tell anybody. Anybody listening out there, don't say this over. Don't tell anyone. You have to be very careful. You have to use a lot of discretion if you're going to talk about what we're saying tonight. You know why? Because if you go over to someone and say, I have this really great program. I have this method of achieving greatness. You want to hear about it? You're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you know what the person's going to say? The person is going to knock the wind out of your sails. You're all excited about it. You're ready to embark on this great path and this great career. And the person is going not to appreciate, he's not going to understand what you're saying. And he's going to knock the wind out of your sails, and he's going to spoil all of your ambition. So don't tell anyone about it. And if you choose to tell someone, you have to be very careful who you tell. Okay? So with this, we begin the 10 steps of greatness. Number 1. There's a topic in this world that nobody likes to talk about. Everyone is afraid to talk about it. Even the Yetzer Hara would rather you speak about anything else. Yetzer Hara says to you when you sit down at your Shabbos table, you know, you have to say divrei Torah. Maybe say over a good Ktsois HaChoshen, Reb Chaim al Rambam. Maybe say over, chazer over what the rabbi said in shul. Maybe learn some Mishnayos. Maybe even learn about the Parsha. But there's one topic nobody likes to talk about. Because the Yetzer Hara knows that as soon as you talk about this topic, it might change your life. And it's such an important topic that even in shuls, even in Batei Knesiyos, Batei Midrashos, Yeshivas Gedos, nobody likes to talk about it. It's taboo, it's thrown under the rug. And the Yetzer Hara made it a dirty word. Olam haba, the world to come. Nobody likes to talk about the world to come. Imagine you came home from shul on Shabbos, and family says, "No, what did the rabbi talk about?" He spoke about the world to come. What? He spoke about the world. What? He wants you to go to the world to come already. It's not enough that you have to suffer through his speech. He wants to send you to the world to come also. The one topic nobody likes to talk about is Olam Haba. Spend 30 seconds every day. Think about the world to come. Think about Olam Haba. What is it like in the world to come? Who makes it into Olam Haba? What do you have to do to get there? How do you get a big share? How do you have a nice seat? How do you have a good house in Olam Haba? Does it depend on what we do in this world? Only someone who perfects their midos ba'olam hazeh will have a nice share in the world to come. What is the function of this world? Does this world have inherent purpose? Or is this world just the hallway, the corridor? Oilam hazeh doimel leproizdar b'fnei oilam haba. This world is just the hallway. It's just the antechamber before the great palace of the world to come. But the Yetzer Hara doesn't want you to think about that. He wants you to think about Chakiras in the Rambam, and Chakiras in Toisus, and what's Pshan Machlokes Rabbeinu Tam in the Rif. It's wonderful. That's beautiful, and you should think about that also. But don't forget, at least once a day, think about Olam Haba, the world to come. You think about Olam Haba for 30 seconds. You're waiting online in the grocery store. There are two people ahead of you. Think about Olam Haba. You're waiting for the car to come. Think about Olam Haba. You're stuck in traffic. Think about the world to come. You do that, your life will be different forever. You're head and shoulders above everybody else. Every day, spend half a minute thinking about Olam Haba, thinking about where everyone is headed. That is step number 1. Step number 2. There's another mitzvah in the Torah, one of the 613 mitzvahs, and we talk about it at least twice a day. But do we ever fulfill it? In Kriya Shema, we say the pasuk, V'yahavta eis Hashem Elokecha. You should love Hashem. Wonderful! Love Hashem. But when are you going to do it already? When do you fulfill that mitzvah? So the Mishnah Berurah says that when you say those words, you should think that I am hereby fulfilling the mitzvah d'oraisa of loving Hashem. But sometimes we don't have that much time to be able to fulfill it at that point. The davening is moving at a rapid pace. You don't always have time to capitalize on those few moments. You got to spend time every day thinking about the mitzvah of Avas Hashem. So what are you going to do? You ready for this? Yes. I told you, don't tell anybody I told you this. Once a day, you're going to say the following. I love you, Hashem. Don't let anyone hear. If anyone hears, they're going to institutionalize you. They're going to put you in a meshuggah place. So don't let anybody hear. So Rav Miller used to say, if necessary, you go into the telephone booth. But I think we could safely say, those are not that common anymore. So Baruch Hashem, we're living in the Dar HaAchron. We're living right before the Yemais HaMashiach. So how are we going to fulfill this great mitzvah? So the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us a special matana. Gave us a cell phone, which obviously is off right now because we're during the shiur. But the phone doesn't have to be on. That's the good part. The phone could be off. You tell somebody, excuse me 1 second, I have to make a phone call. And then you dial long distance. You say, you go into the corner, I love you, Hash. Somebody says, what do you say? No, don't worry, never mind. You know, you want to text it? I'll give you credit for that also. If you're too embarrassed to say it, you're too embarrassed somebody's going to hear it. If you text it, also we'll give you credit for madrigan up. So you say, come on, this is a very high level. Loving Hashem. Doesn't the Rambam say that Avas Hashem is the highest, the pinnacle of greatness? If you look in the Sefer Chovos HaVavos, there are 10 sha'arim, there are 10 gates. And the 10th and final gate is the gate of Avas Hashem. It's after Shar HaBechina, Shar HaBitachon, Shar Yichud HaMaisa. It's after Shar HaKniyah, Shar HaTshuva. That's the final level. You're going to tell me that a regular Jew could reach the level of Avas Hashem? Well, comes the Vilna Gaon and he tells us that even though love of Hashem is the highest level, you could teach Avas Hashem even to children. Even a child could be taught to love Hashem. So what do we see from this? That madregos yesh. There are many, many different levels. And we may not be on the highest level of Avas Hashem, but every single Jew is capable of fulfilling the mitzvah d'oraisa of Avas Hashem. So you say, yeah, but it's just words. I don't really feel it. I don't really think that way. Comes the Chovos HaVavos, and he teaches us a great principle. A principle that I haven't said over in a very long time. And the name of this principle is Hamachshava Nimsheches Achar Hadibur. You are in full control of your emotions. All you need to do is talk. And whatever you say, you slowly begin to feel. So maybe on day one, when you say, I love you, Hashem, you're not feeling it completely. But Shlomo HaMelech tells us, Mayim amukim eitza belevish. Deep waters is the counsel in the heart of man. V'ish tevuna yidlena, and the wise man will draw it forth. Which means deep down in the heart of every Jew is implanted all of the correct emotions and all of the correct feelings and all of the proper thoughts. Sometimes, though, it's very, very deep down. But a wise man is able to tap into it and bring it up and elicit those emotions. And how do you elicit those emotions? By speaking, by talking. So maybe at first, when you say, I love you, Hashem, you may not be in full contact with those hargashos. But ultimately, you keep on saying it day after day, it will snowball into Eish Shal Havesya, a fireball of emotion, of love for the Ribbanu Shel Olam, and that will be created by level number 2, by step number 2, the second step of greatness. Once a day, when nobody's looking, and nobody's listening, and nobody notices, you declare, Ribbanu Shel Olam, I love you. Okay? You're not going to tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. It's just between me and you. Level number 3. Step number 3. Once a day, do an act of kindness that nobody knows about. Okay? If people are watching, it doesn't count. People know about it, doesn't count. If you do the chesed and then you advertise it, it doesn't count. Once a day, do a kindness that nobody knows about. So you're in shul, you're the last one in shul, nobody's looking. You see some sidurim, you take the sidurim, you put them away. You're walking down the street, you see a banana peel, you make sure nobody's looking. The fact that the government's watching, we're not going to count that. Okay? You take the banana peel, you throw into the garden. You did a chesed nobody knows about. Your wife's not home. You see some dishes out, you wash the dishes, she'll never know. Once a day you do an act of kindness that nobody knows about. Why is it so important to do kindness that nobody knows about? Because the objective over here is not just to be a nice guy. Because everybody wants to be a nice guy for ulterior motives or ulterior reasons. People want to be a nice guy. They want to be viewed as a nice person, respectable person, a well-mannered person. No, that's not what we're talking about over here. We're not speaking about etiquette. We're not talking about manners. We're not talking about being a good guy. What we're talking about is the great career of emulating the ways of Hashem. Because the Ribbanu Shel Olam provides and does chesed to all of mankind and to all creations, and nobody knows about it. It's completely hidden. You come to your table, you have a wonderful meal, you have a wonderful dinner. Where did it come from? The Ribbanu Shel Olam prepared all the necessary steps to make sure that you have supper. But He's not in the room with you. He's hiding. Doesn't want anybody to know. All of the chesed that the Ribbanu Shel Olam does for a person, the Ribbanu Shel Olam wants it to remain anonymous. He doesn't advertise, look what I did for you. He doesn't stand in front of you and say, look, I brought you this cup of water. The Ribbanu Shel Olam says, you know what I had to do to bring you this cup of water? I had to create this fireball 93 million miles away from the earth. And the fireball has to shine on the ocean and cause the water to evaporate and separate from the salt. And then it forms clouds. And then the Ribbanu Shel Olam says, I have to create this great fan to blow the clouds onto the dry land. And then it rains, and now it's in your cup. The Ribbanu Shel Olam doesn't advertise that. He doesn't say anything. You just have it. And He allows us to enjoy it. And often we don't even think where we got it from. All of the chesed that the Ribbanu Shel Olam does in this world, He allows to remain anonymous. So if you want to emulate the ways of Hashem, the best way to emulate the ways of Hashem is once a day you do an act of kindness that nobody knows about. Maybe write a letter to somebody. Write a letter, you say, I saw your children in shul. They're so well behaved. You did such a wonderful job. raising them. And don't sign it. Nobody will ever know it was you. Once a day. Now you say, but nobody does this. Only people a little bit crazy do these kind of things. That's right. If you want to be a nobody, then just do what everybody else does. And you'll end up in the same nobody grave like everybody else. But if you want to be a somebody, you have to be a little creative in this world. You have to be willing to do things that other people don't do. If you want, you could just remain mediocre from the time you were born until your last day. But if you want to be somebody, you got to do things a little differently. And that includes step number 3. Step number 3 is once a day, do an act of kindness that nobody knows about. Step number 4. Step number 4. Once a day, encourage somebody. Give somebody encouragement. Tell your wife, wow, that was such a delicious dinner. You must have worked very hard to put that together. I can't believe you worked so hard the whole day and you're able to prepare for me like that. That's really remarkable. She'll look at you like, what happened to you? What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Are you on medication? Do it anyway. Once a day, encourage somebody. Compliment somebody. And don't be stingy. It's like sometimes people come to the rabbi. Right? Don't be stingy. Tell him. I saw you worked very hard. Not me. It's okay. You'll tell me anyway. You're nice already. But a different rabbi. Say, look, I saw you worked very hard to put together the shiur. And even though people aren't coming to hear the shiur, they're just coming for dinner. But still, say something nice, right? Make somebody feel good. Give someone a compliment. So you say, why should I give someone a compliment? Because the Ribbono Shel Olam encourages everybody. We say every day in Tehillim, Me'oided Anovim Hashem. The Ribbono Shel Olam encourages the humble. That is the procedure of God. That is the midah of the Ribbono Shel Olam. You give someone a compliment, you could have somebody who woke up in the morning and he could barely get out of bed. How's he going to get through the day? The boss and the oil parnasa and all the things he has to worry about. And you go over to him and you say, you know what? You're looking good today. Ooh, all of a sudden he stands up 3 feet taller and he stands straight and he's filled with energy and ambition. You changed his whole day. He's a new person. He has a new lease on the day. What you did to him was greater than giving him $1,000. I once heard Rav Miller say that he remembers 70 years earlier, he was walking in the streets of Kovna, and he passed by a priest, and the priest gave him a compliment. And until this day, he still remembers the compliment. He remembers the priest's face, and remembers the color of his necktie. Because when you compliment someone, it enters their body, it enters their blood, it enters their bones. It stays with the person for the rest of their life. The best thing you could do to someone, the nicest thing you could do this, and it doesn't cost any money. People are worried that if they compliment somebody, they're going to get a bill on the next month's credit card. There's going to accrue interest. There's no charge. It doesn't take away from you. It doesn't cost you any money. So you could be generous. Don't be stingy. Once a day, give somebody a compliment. But who gives people compliments? Not anymore. That's right. If you want to remain a nobody, mind your own business. But if you want to become something, give someone else encouragement. Encourage another Jew. Encourage your spouse. Encourage your mother. Encourage your father. Encourage your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister. Once a day, not twice. Okay? It's going to be too much for anybody to do it just once a day. We don't want to burden you. Once a day, give somebody encouragement. That is step number 4. Step number 5, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this. I don't know if you could tamper with the matbeah shetavu b'is chachamim, but maybe we could just make one little tweak to step number 5. spend 1 minute, think about what you did yesterday. Spend 1 minute a day, think about yesterday. So a lot of people tell me, I don't even remember what happened an hour ago. How am I supposed to remember what I did? So you know what? We're going to make it a little easier. Okay? Every night, spend 1 minute, think about, what did I do today? Think about, how did I daven today? Did I utilize my time properly? How did I speak to my relatives, my family, my spouse, my parents, my children? Did I use the day properly? Did I thank Hashem today? Spend 1 minute a day thinking about what you did today. Did I utilize today properly? See, but nobody does that. You're right. You do that, you're not going to be a nobody anymore. Nobodies do that. You want to be a somebody? You want to make something of yourself? When you get to Olam Haba, they're going to call, hey, you come straight to the front. What did I do? Me? Yeah. You spend 1 minute a day thinking about what you did that day. And all the other people, all the millions of people, they're going to be still waiting on the line because they didn't take the minute to think about what they did that day. They just let life run them by day after day after day. Spend 1 moment a day. Was I an honest worker today? Did I deal with my workers honestly, properly? Spend 1 minute a day making the cheshbon hanefesh, making the accounting. How did I spend today? Step number 6. The Mishnah tells us in Pirkei Avos, Kol ma'asecha yiu l'shem shamayim. All of your activities should be for the sake of heaven. And everybody knows that Mishnah, and everybody learns that Mishnah. So when are we going to do it already? When are we going to start to take care of our daily needs l'shem shamayim? It's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. When you eat, you're supposed to think, I'm eating l'shem shamayim. So when are you going to do it? Once you're in the next world, there's no more opportunity. You're going to ask, please, I want to come back here just for one more lunch, to eat that lunch, l'shem shamayim. Give me 1 cup of water so I could drink it. No, sorry, it's too late. There's no more lunch up here. There's no more water up here. Let me go to sleep one last time, l'shem shamayim. Sorry, there's no food. There's no sleep. You're finished. Time is up. Once a day, think, I'm eating so I can have energy to serve Hashem. Only once a day. It could be your breakfast, your lunch, your supper, your midnight snack, your snack in between breakfast and brunch, the snack between brunch and lunch, the snack in between the snack, whatever part, anything that you eat. Think that you're eating l'shem shamayim. You're eating this treat because it gives you simcha. I'm eating it l'shem shamayim to give me a boost. Once, not twice a day. We don't want to burden you. We're keeping it very easy. We're keeping it very simple. These 10 steps, everyone could do. We could all do. Once a day, think that we're eating l'shem shamayim. Now, the Rambam understands that there's an even higher level of eating l'shem shamayim. I'm going to throw it out there. And this is not mandatory as part of the program, just so you should be aware. The Rambam says that one can eat on a higher level of Shem Shamayim to enhance and magnify their appreciation of the existence of Hashem. For example, you eat a piece of bread and you think to yourself, where does this piece of bread come from? What makes up the piece of bread? Piece of bread is made up of starches. What creates the starch? Well, the sun shines on the plant, and the plant uses carbon dioxide, and uses the sunlight, and uses the water, and the plant mixes together the light, and the water, and the carbon dioxide, and it produces starch. So what am I eating when I eat a piece of bread? I'm eating sunlight. I'm eating water. I'm eating carbon dioxide. Now, you try eating those three elements separately. Try eating sunlight. Tell me how you feel afterwards. Does it fill you up? Is it satisfying? Try drinking water. Will that nourish you? Try inhaling a lot of carbon dioxide without fainting. None of those things are food. And yet, the Melech Malchei Amlachim, the master chemist, he takes all of these ingredients and he mixes it together and he produces a piece of bread. When you were born, your mother carried you out of the hospital. You were 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds. And now, maybe you're 160 pounds on a good day. Where did those 153 pounds come from? You ate a lot of sunlight, and a lot of carbon dioxide, and a lot of air. But you can't eat any of those. It's a ness. It's a miracle. The Rebbeinu Shalom creates yesh me'ayin. He takes nothing, and a little bit more nothing, mixes together some more nothing, and he makes something. He makes a piece of bread. You look at your body, what does it come from? Nothing. Ex nihilo. Yesh me'ayin. It's made out of the sun, it's made out of the rain, it's made out of carbon dioxide. This is also a way to gain a more clear awareness of the existence of the Rebbeinu Shalom through eating. So somebody's going to look at you, say, what are you doing while you eat that bread? I'm preoccupied. What are you thinking about? No, never mind, nothing. Don't tell anybody what you're thinking about. Otherwise, who knows, they're going to think you lost it. But you know, and I know, we know the program. Once a day, when you're eating, you think you're eating l'shem shamayim. I believe Rav Miller himself, he had a minhag, that after every bite, he turned his fork upside down in order to remind him that the next bite he needs to eat l'shem shamayim. That is step number 6. Step number 7. At the very beginning of the creation, the Torah gives us a fundamental principle. And that is, God created man b'tselem Elokim, in the image of Hashem. Man is created in the image of Hashem. What does that mean? That means, if you look at the human face, and we can never even dare say such a thing, the human face is a reflection of God Himself. The neshama is divine. The neshama is a chelek eloka mimal. The neshama is, so to speak, yun from God Himself. And the divinity and the spirituality of the soul is reflected onto the screen. And the screen is a face. There is nothing more noble and more sanctified in this world than a human face. In fact, on Cheshvan, Tavshin Samach Aleph, I asked Rav Miller the following question. The Rav said that Tselem Elokim is primarily in the features of the face. What is the source for this? Answer: it is a well-known fact. But it's a well-known fact that the sanctity and divinity of the Shekhinah is reflected on the human face. That is why the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, on Daf Nun Ches Amud Beis, Hasoiter luoi shel chaveiroi, if you smack your friend in the face, Kisoiter luoi shel Shekhinah, it's like you smacked the Shekhinah in the face. What does one thing have to do with the other? Like you smack your friend in the face, why does that mean, why is that compared to smacking Kaviyachal Pnei HaShekhinah? So we see from this Gemara that if we would never be able to say such a thing. Ilmale hakasav amrei yevshir la'amrei. Had the Torah not said this, we would never been able to dream up of such an idea. But in some dimension, the human face is the closest thing we have in its beauty, majesty, grandeur to the Shekhinah itself. And therefore, once a day, look at someone's face. It could be your friend. It could be your student, it could be your Rabbi, it could be your father, it could be your mother, it could be a little baby. You look into their face and you say, this person was created in the image of Hashem. What? At first you won't even be able to understand such a thing. You won't even be able to allow your mind to absorb it. But once a day, every day, you look in someone's face, this person was created in the image of Hashem. You wake up in the morning, you wash your face, you think, I'm washing Tselem Elokim. You take a shower. By the way, it's a good idea to do that sometimes. Take a shower, you're washing your face, you're washing Tselem Elokim. Your entire appreciation for an Adam, for your friend, for your family, for all of mankind, will be infinitely enhanced and magnified with Darga Zayin, with the 7th step. Once a day, think, look in someone's face, and you think to yourself, I'm looking at the image of Hashem. Level number 8, step number 8. You're almost there. You're a good audience. Chazak ve'ematz. Level number 8. One of the Rosh Yeshiva of the Slobodka Yeshiva, one of the Rabbeim of Rabbi Avigdor Miller, and in fact, in one of the introductions to his books, he writes that if he doesn't tell you what the source is his Rebbe, Rav Isaac Sher. Rav Isaac Sher was the son-in-law of the Alter of Slobodka, and he was a regular young boy who he raised himself up and he became the Rosh Yeshiva of one of the great yeshivas in the world, the Slobodka Yeshiva. What got Rav Isaac Sher to come to Slobodka? When he heard the following shmuz. The Alter of Slobodka was talking about a very benevolent individual. This individual, maybe he was in Russia, he would wait outside the shul, and as people left the shul and went out into the elements, into the cold, into the wind, into the snow, he would stand outside with a pot, and there was a little fire under the pot, and in the pot was milk. We're almost done, don't worry. And in the pot was milk. And he would dispense the milk to every individual who left the shul. And as people left the shul, they would come with their cup, and this man would dispense hot milk to everybody who left the shul. So you could just imagine all of the milk that this person contributed. Just each person who left the shul, everything they did that day was because of this great benefactor. Anything accomplished that day was because they started off that day with a warm cup of milk. You know what milk does for you? It gives you protein. It gives you calcium. I believe on the tape Rav Nolah pronounced it calcium. It gives you energy. It gives you vitamin D. Everything that a person did that day was jump-started by the warm milk that this great benefactor bestowed on them. And this person gave milk to every person who left the shul. And he did it for decades and decades and decades. And the person passed away. We should erect a monument for this person. After all, almost everything that transpired in that city was accomplished by this great gift of the milk. But says the Alter of Slobodka, he would have been better off if instead of dispensing milk, he would have smiled at everybody who left the shul. Because the Gemara Darshans in Masechta Ksubas Kuf Yud Aleph, on the pasuk, Uleven shinayim echalav, Gadol hamalben shinayim lechaveroi, yoiser mimashkeu chalav. Greater is someone who flashes the white of their teeth to their friend than someone who gives a cup of milk. So if you give someone a smile, it gives them even more benefits. You smile at someone, it gives them chizuk. It puts them in a good mood. It gives them energy. It gives them confidence. It gives them ambition. Even more than a warm cup of milk, give someone a smile. So once a day, go over to someone, and the best thing is go over to that sourpuss. Go over to the curmudgeon who walks around like that, and give him a big smile. Show him the white of your teeth.
But Rabbi, if you serve meal to every person,
Not after the shiur. Right now everyone's fleishik.
No, but what if you serve to every person? They have a smile for the rest of the day. Don't you get to the mitzvah that?
Yeah, but even better than that is if you give them a real smile. Now, if you want to have a white smile, maybe you need to drink some extra milk. But show them the white of your smile. Smile at your wife. She's going to think you lost it. First you're complimenting her, and then Nachdom, see, you're smiling. And then imagine if she heard you saying, I love you, Hashem. She would, institutionalize. So that's why you have to know what you're doing over here. Once a day, give someone a big, fat smile. Say, why should I smile at somebody? Why do I have to smile at them? I want to frown. No. Says the Ramak, Rav Moshe Cordovera, if we could somehow see the face of the Shekhinah, what would that face look like? How could we even say such a thing? Well, says the Ramak, the Torah tells us that we say in Birchas Koyanim, Yoyer Hashem Panav Elecha. Ribbono shel olam, shine your countenance on us. Says the Ramak in the Talmud Devaira, the Ribbono shel olam is always smiling at us. Not a moment ever goes by that the Ribbono shel olam is not smiling at us. Sometimes we put up a mechitza between that smile and us. But if you want to know what is the image of the face of the Shekhinah, it's always beha'aras panim. It's always illuminating. It's always shining on us. It's always smiling on us. So if the Ribbono shel olam is always smiling on us, and we want the Ribbono shel olam to always shower His kindness on us and smile at us, then let's do that to somebody else. Only once a day. The rest of the day, you could look like you're in depression. You could bury your face in your jacket. We're only requiring this once a day, not more than that. Once a day, give someone. Now you have to think before you do it. You have in mind, I am now hineni muchan u'mazuman. I am preparing myself to fulfill the 8th step of greatness. You say, well, come on. Nobody smiles. That's right. If you want to be a nobody, don't smile at anybody. Once a day, give someone a big smile. And by doing so, you fulfilled the 8th level, the 8th step to greatness.
Does this have to be to another Jew or could it be to
another Jew? Number 9. After Adam and Chava ate from the Eitz Hadas, so they made for themselves, they sewed for themselves, alei te'ena, bare minimum clothing. But the Ribbono shel olam was not satisfied with that, so the Ribbono shel olam made Adam and Chava, vayas Hashem Elokim la'adam u'le'ishtay kasnois ar vayalbishim. The Ribbono shel olam made clothing for Adam and his wife. Why did the Ribbono shel olam make clothing for Adam and his wife? They were basically clothed. They had the bare minimum, because after all, a human being understands that you have to wear some semblance of clothing. Nobody upholds complete aruma. Nobody believes in complete arum, except Rav Miller says, the editors of the New York Times. So besides them, everybody understands there has to be some modicum of dress. Why did the Ribbono shel olam feel it necessary to make for Adam and his wife a full set of clothing? The answer is, Rabbi Yochanan teaches us in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, Mani mechabdusi. Clothing bring a person honor. Clothing honor a person. The reason why we wear clothing is more than just to cover up the bare minimum. Clothing demonstrates the fundamental difference between a man and an animal. By wearing clothing, you're declaring that we have a higher purpose in this world. We are a higher order. We are a higher class. And it shows dignity. By wearing clothing, we demonstrate that we understand our superiority over the animal kingdom. And therefore, spend 30 seconds a day appreciating the gift of clothing. So what do I appreciate? I went to the store and I bought my clothing. Now, clothing is a very big gift. Look at your shirt. You have buttons on your shirt? You know what a great gift it is to have buttons? You know what they used to have to do? They used to have to take stones, stick it into the shirt, fold the shirt around the stone, and stick it through the hole. And what happens when the stone pops out? Imagine, middle of the shiur, somebody's down on the floor. All of a sudden his stone fell out. In the middle of davening, you clap al chait. All of a sudden, all the stones, 5 stones fall down. You're walking down the street. You're talking to somebody. All of a sudden, the stones are rolling. You're running after them in the street because your stones are coming out. Okay. No, you have to appreciate the fact that you live in a generation where the Rebbeinu Shalom put it into the seichel of mankind to invent buttons. Okay. You ever appreciate your buttonhole? A buttonhole is not just, somebody didn't just take a knife and slit a hole in your shirt. If they would have done that, after wearing it maybe 2 or 3 times, the whole shirt would have been ripped open. Every buttonhole has a border, has a stitching around it to make sure that it doesn't rip. So now you could probably get even a year out of the shirt without it ripping, right? Appreciate your buttonholes. You have a belt. Where did that belt come from? Some alligator was zoicha that you should wear him around your waist in the shul. So right now, there are alligators somewhere in the Everglades, and he was crying. He's mispal, Ribbon Shalom. Please, I want to be around the waist of a Jew in Kew Garden Hills at a Wednesday night shiur. And the Ribbon Shalom was makabel his tefillah, and he's here. He made it here. You know how many steps went in? You have holes in your belt. Imagine if you had to take a little knife and make a hole in the belt. Then, after a few weeks, your belt wouldn't look good anymore. So Hashem allowed mankind to invent a special tool that bores a hole in the belt, and the hole maintains itself for a very long time. You're wearing shoes? Looks like everyone's wearing shoes over here, right? Did you ever in your life appreciate shoelaces? No, I wear Velcro. Most people here are not wearing Velcro, right? You ever appreciate shoelaces? What does it appreciate shoelaces? You know what Hashem had to do so you should have shoelaces? He had to create a special material. It's called plastic. Without plastic, you would never be able to put your shoelaces in your shoes. You know what happens when the little plastic edge falls off the shoelace? All of a sudden the edge unravels, and you try to get it in, and you make it wet, and you tighten it, and it never goes in. No. So Hashem had to create a special oil that's found in the ground, that from that oil they make plastic. Hashem didn't make plastic for alligators. They don't need plastic. Hashem didn't make plastic. Elephants don't need plastic. Cows don't need... He made it for you. God put plastic in the earth so that you could tie your shoes. So next, God willing, tomorrow morning, you wake up in the morning, you appreciate your clothing, your buttons, your buttonholes, your shoelaces, and you say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam malbish harumim. Once a day, appreciate the great gift of clothing. That is level number 9. The 9th step to greatness. Rav Miller writes, gird your loins for level number 10. We'll say, fasten your seatbelts, hold on to your socks. Especially, it's much easier to do that if you have good shoelaces. Level number 10. Chassan, he found his kala. The kala found the chassan. He put the ring on her finger. Everyone is about to shout Mazel Tov, but wait! There's one more thing we have to do. You got to break the glass, and then everyone shouts Mazel Tov. Why are they screaming Mazel Tov? Because he broke the glass? No. It's because at the moment of our greatest happiness, we have to remember Churban Yerushalayim. We have to remember the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Why do we have to make... why are we stirring the wedding? Why ruin the wedding? Imagine if under the chuppah, all of a sudden the two mother-in-laws started fighting under the wedding. I told you not to buy that dress. I told you it was going to... Imagine the two mother-in-laws start bickering at each other under the chuppah. And then everyone says, no, quiet, Shah, you're stirring the wedding. So why you ruin the wedding? You have to break the glass under the chuppah. You can't wait until at the chuppah. I mean, that's the worst possible. Imagine if you had to come up with, what would the best way be to ruin a wedding? Let's take a glass, and right after the chassan puts the ring on the kala, let's break it and remember the Churban Beis HaMikdash. I mean, that would even be worse than the two mother-in-laws bickering with each other. And that's exactly what we do. Why do we do that? It's because the Jewish people took an oath. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yamini. That if we forget Yerushalayim, let our right hand forget its cunning. We took an oath. Im loy ales Yerushalayim al rosh simchasi. That we will remember Yerushalayim at the time of our greatest happiness. So right as about everyone is about to wish the chassan and kala mazel tov, we say, wait a second, we have to remember Yerushalayim. So you say, what do we have to remember Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim is a beautiful city today. Yeshivos, Batei Midrashos, it's teeming with Charedim, with Shomerei Torah mitzvahs. Why do we have to remember Yerushalayim? Well, you should know that in Yerushalayim today, when they make a wedding, they also break the glass. And they also say, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yamini. Because we're not talking about remember the Yerushalayim of today. We're talking about remember the ancient Yerushalayim. The Yerushalayim that Nevi'im would be walking the streets and the presence of Hashem was felt. The Yerushalayim where people would come to the Beis HaMikdash and see the column of smoke going straight up to the heavens and see the miraculous fire. People would come to a Beis HaMikdash and be in full recognition of the presence of Hashem. That's the Yerushalayim that we mourn. So once a day, you ready for this one? When nobody's looking, you're going to close the door, you're going to lock it, you're going to bolt it, you're going to put a chair under the doorknob just in case anybody might come in. You're going to sit down on the floor for a split second, and you're going to think that you're mourning for the destruction of this man. Then you quickly remove the chair, unlock. Well, what were you doing inside? What were you doing? Why did you lock the door? I had to speak to someone. It was a personal thing. Once a day, sit down on the floor, and you're going to mourn Yerushalayim. In the olden days, mothers used to wake up their children every midnight to cry over the Beis HaMikdash. See, my children are so holy that I don't even have to wake them up at midnight. Somehow, they on their own seem to be saying Tikkun Chatzos almost every single night. I don't mean to brag, that's the reality. But in ancient times, mothers, the mother of the Lulav Rebbe would wake up all of her children at midnight. Can you imagine a mother waking up all of her children? The screaming, the kailas, everyone crying together. That's the way it used to be. But even we, for one brief moment today, you're going to get down on the floor. I know you're worried, you can get your pants dirty, so you take a special shmata, you clean off the floor, you sit on the carpet. If you want, you could buy a special mat. People have all kinds of mats, exercise mats, yoga mats, I don't know, all kinds of mats. People bring mats to shul, to daven Shemona Esrei, because somehow it's going to wear out their knees. They're walking 50 miles a day, but they're worried that by saying Moedim once, it's going to wear out their knee. But people have all kinds of mats. Get a special mat. They're going to ask, what's this mat for? They're going to know it's not for exercise. But you get down on the floor once a day, you mourn Churban Yerushalayim. Rabbi say, I gave you on the back on page number 4, we have a quick summary of the 10 steps to greatness. Number 1, once a day, spend 30 seconds thinking about Olam Haba, the world to come. Number 2, once a day you say, I love you, Hashem. Number 3, once a day you're going to do an act of kindness that nobody knows about. Number 4, once a day you're going to give someone encouragement. You're going to give someone a compliment. Number 5, once a day at night, think about how did I spend today? What did I do today? Number 6, you're going to say, once a day before you eat, I am eating l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven, to serve Hashem. Number 7, once a day, you're going to look into someone's face and you're going to think to yourself, this Adam, this person was created in the image of Hashem. Number 8, once a day, you're going to give someone a nice big smile. Once a day, you're going to spend a moment thinking about and appreciating the gift of clothing. And finally, number 10, once a day you're going to get down on the floor and for a moment you're going to mourn Churban Yerushalayim. Now how long are we going to do this for? No commitments. Try it for 30 days. But not more than that. You do this for 30 days, after 30 days you're going to be very tired, very worn out. You're going to need a vacation. You're going to take a 6-month break. And then you're going to do it for another 30 days. And then you're going to be very tired again. But this time you don't need such a big vacation. You're going to break for 5 months. Then you can do it again. 4-month break. Until ultimately this becomes part of your routine. If anyone is able to do these 10 things even one day, you're already a giant. Even if you do just one of these things every day, you already raised yourself up a very big madriga. So, as the month of Elul is approaching, there's no time like now. Let us all together see if some of these things we're able to do. And now, Rabbi Say, we're not limiting to these things. If you have your own 10 things that you feel are very important and you want to do, kol hakavod. This is just an example of a program that one of the great Gedolim that lived in this century, that he designed for himself, for others. And this is the type of attitude that we need to constantly be thinking about. What are we doing? What are we achieving? What are we accomplishing? What tangible steps are we taking to climb that mountain that ultimately the Rebbeinu Shalom should give all of us siyata d'shmaya to take as many steps as possible, and b'derech she'adam roitza leilech ma'lichin oisai, in the path that a person wants to go, the Rebbeinu Shalom will take us there, and we should all take upon ourselves something tangible, something concrete, as the month of Elul is approaching. Month of Elul is a month of preparing for Rosh Hashanah. What better way than to come into the Yom Adin with a program to achieve some level of greatness? May the Rebbeinu Shalom give us all heavenly assistance to embark on this great journey. Have a great evening. Shkaya.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.